Good evening, all. Thank you for assisting once again our webinar. We will give a couple of more minutes to our colleagues to start joining the webinar before we start. For those that just joined the webinar, we will be giving a couple of more minutes to our colleagues to finish joining in. So just let's wait for a couple of minutes and we will start our presentation. Just to remind you all that any sort of questions you might have, on the bottom of your screens, you will see an icon with Q&A. You can address the hosts, meaning Mr. Winzy, Rafael, and I, and we will answer questions, but at the end of the exposition. I see a question here from Mr. Douglas. Good afternoon, Mr. Douglas. And his question is, will these webinars be available online afterwards? Maybe Joseph can help me answer that. I'm not really sure about that.
Yes, Alex, good afternoon, everybody. We have been recording all the past two sessions. They are recorded. We can actually, if you think it's valuable, we can put them on our webpage, and you can actually have access to them. So if you think it's a good idea, we can actually share that with you. No problem. So maybe Alex, you want to, at the end of
Sure.
the, at the end of the presentation, maybe we can share our emails, and
Sure.
the people who are interested in having that, maybe they can write to us and we can share that.
Absolutely. Will do. Thanks for the question, Mr. Douglas. All right. Without further ado, let me please thank you once again for attending this CT webinar. We at Global Medica value and we take it very personally to continue with the education of our customers. It's very important for us. We will be imparting today our third webinar by Mr. Rafael Magallanes, who is a biomedical scientist and radiology specialist with more than 50 years of experience and 11 years of experience as an applications specialist for GE. Today we're going to discuss, Rafael is going to discuss about CT Vascular and all those processes for producing and acquiring good and producing good diagnosis imaging with vascularity. For those that are joining us for the first time, let me remind that the usual timings of the exposition will be 45 minutes approximately, and we will leave approximately 15 minutes for question and answers, which we understand it's very interesting. So you can address Mr. Magallanes, and he will gladly respond your questions, your curiosities, etc. Also, Rafael will be giving tips and tricks of the trade along during the presentation. So again, thanks a lot for your assistance. Remember that tomorrow is the last webinar. The same channel, same hour. We'll be discussing another very interesting topic. So please join us tomorrow for our last webinar. Also, like we just discussed, we will put our email contacts at the end of the exposition, and you can let us know if you wish to receive the recordings of the webinars, and we will gladly send it to you. So I think I've spoken too much. I think this is not my show. This is Rafael's show. So please, Rafael, go ahead. Thank you so much, and enjoy the show.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for participation in this webinar. And our today's topics will be CT vascular.
Rafael, I hear you very low.
Better now?
Maybe you want to, it's a little bit better. Maybe you need to just revise your mic just in case. I don't know if it's me. Do you hear him well, Joseph?
Oh, I hear him a little bit low volume also.
Low volume, yeah.
Better now? No?
Oh, still a little bit low.
Just a minute.
Alex, you're on mute, Alex.
Sorry, the previous day, I was saying the previous day you were sounding perfect. So now you sound a little bit far away.
Let me try to stop to share. Hearing me better now?
Nope.
Yeah, a little bit better.
So,
Not crisp yet, but a little bit better.
some connection.
Maybe you want to disconnect, connect perhaps?
Yeah, I'll try to do it. Sorry. I'll try to
No problem.
disconnect and connect again.
So
Yeah.
Alex, while he does that, I think it could be a good idea. We had a small. So we're going to talk about today a little bit of vascular contrast studies, And we wanted to have an idea of our audience today, a little bit more about if you're doing contrast studies today, and know a little bit more about the type of studies that you're doing today. So you're seeing on your screen just a small poll. I don't know what percentage of your total CT studies are using contrast media. Usually we see around 30% in some regions, sometimes 50% of all their CT patients. And maybe you can share with us from your total CT studies, how much of those are using contrast. The second is if you're using contrast injectors in all your studies or maybe half of your studies. Sometimes we have encountered in some regions that they're just using manual injected studies. The other one are what type of studies are using mainly angiovascular CTAs, or you're using multi-phase, some perfusion studies, and maybe what type of contrast media are you using currently and what type of concentration. So while Rafael actually logs in again, maybe you can share this a little bit with us. Something also that we wanted to mention for today, tomorrow, we will be having a live workstation that we will be sharing also with a live reconstructed cases for different type of studies, vascular, colon, perfusion. So we're gonna have something very more interactive tomorrow. And I believe that by the end of today's session, if you can actually use the raise hand function, and if you want to go live with Rafael today, we can actually give you the possibilities to open your mics. Also, I think it could be also a good idea for that. Rafael, can you test your mic?
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's a little bit also low. I don't know if are you using your headphones or are you using the computer?
Yeah, the headphone, but I was using it before starting.
No, it's too low. I don't know. Maybe if the computer is taking your internal mic, and I don't know if sometimes you can choose on your settings.
Better now or not?
No. Can you get a little bit closer to the computer to see if it picks up a little bit better?
Sorry?
Can you test?
Now hearing me? No.
Now it's a little bit better.
It's a little bit better, but I think you have to speak a little bit louder, okay?
Okay, I'll try to speak louder, so.
Okay.
That tone is good. That tone is good.
Perfect. So, okay. I think you can start then, Rafael, if you want.
All right. So let me share my screen now.
Do a Pavarotti tone. Okay, Rafael.
Pavarotti, okay. So,
yeah.
sorry for this. Don't know what is happening. We tested before this meeting and it was okay. Don't know what happened, but I will try to speak louder, right?
It sounds very good now, Rafael. Pavarotti style.
Okay, nice. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. So again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here again for today's class that is CT Vascular. Today we're gonna cover the following topics. So for the next 30 or 40 minutes, we're gonna through these topics, and this presentation will be focused in the radiographer to acquire the best quality CTA. So we will look parameters and injections, parameters that will have any effect on CTA, so you can optimize your results. I would like to start with acquisition parameters. So there are many variables in acquisition parameters, such as the KV and MA that we select, and the speed of scanning, including rotation time, pitch, and coverage, and the reconstruction parameters as well. So it's important to consider all of them in order to get a best quality scan that we can. Firstly, we're gonna discuss our exposure factors. We will see throughout the presentations, we've included images of the operator's console interface from 40 millimeter segment, 64 equipment. So due to the presence of contrast media within the vessels, it's at a very high density structure. The vessels are very high density structure. So due to this, we can often lower the dose without compromising image quality too much. We don't need the same MA levels that you might see when you scanning a soft tissue body exam. If you are starting to build your CTA protocol from a standard body protocol, which uses 120 kV, you can increase the noise index slightly and therefore decrease the dose. KV, however, decreases contrast. So what do you mean by that exactly? Well, the higher the KV, the more penetration power the X-ray beam has. And so contrast will not attenuate the beam as much, and it will appear less dense on your image. So when scanning an angel, you want to see as much contrast as possible. For this reason, it's best to use a lower KV, which will be attenuate more and show contrast brightly on the image. Lower KV improve your image contrast, but will also introduce noise into your image. Look to this graphic. This graph shows two materials of different densities. The orange line represents soft tissue, and the green, we can assume it's a contrast media. You can see the lower the KV, the larger the difference in attenuation coefficient between the two materials, and it will increase contrast visibility between two. Whereas the higher the KV levels, the difference in attenuation coefficient flattens off, and two materials appears to have similar densities. Next, we're going to discuss how fast can we scan our patients, and talking in detail about pitch coverage and rotation time. Well, when making your protocols, it's always important to consider your area of interest in what are appropriate scanning parameters for that area. How fast do you want to scan? Example, a CTA embolism study can be scanning in a couple of seconds, but a peripheral enough study will be scanning over 20 or 30 seconds in order to avoid movement. So sometimes it's appropriate to use a fast rotation time to acquire quickly or potentially use the gating function. The pitch range can be 0.5 from 0.5 to 1.75. With let's think about a pitch 0.5. So with a 0.5, even has lower acquisition time but better image quality. If you are using a 40 millimeter system, a pitch of 0.5 is recommended. If you couple with faster rotation time, we usually provide enough speed. You probably need a pitch 0.5 for runoff to slow the acquisition down and avoid overtaking the contrast. But now, if you are using a 20 millimeter detector system, you may need a faster pitch, like 1.37, 1.75, and that and you could adding IQ Enhance, because you help to improve your image quality as you are using higher pitch. Remember, IQ Enhance is also sometimes known as a pitch booster. It improves helical artifacts and allows us to scan with a quicker pitches without degrading image quality. And now let's have a look on reconstruction parameters. They are also very important to consider here. I would say that when we're deciding on the slice thickness to reconstruct with it, consider the anatomy you are examining. If you are looking at thin vessels that need more details, then use 0.6 millimeters. But remember that in some 20 millimeter systems, the dose may be higher when you use 0.6 instead 1.25. And this is due to the asymmetric detector configuration for some systems. But if you are looking at larger vessels, then you could use 1.25. So 1.25 is often used for inches for large vessels. This light thickness will be better in terms of signal noise and storage than 0.6, where you will have twice as many images without any real benefit. Also consider the algorithm and the amount of iterative recon applied. So as we've said, the dose often taken is reduced, which means noise is introducing into image and counterattack is a higher level of iterative recon. Using iterative recon, then a standard algorithm will be good for DCTA, and some radiologists will prefer. The system does not have iterative recon stone, however, then a software algorithm will be a good option for 0.6. What about the contrast management? What do you have to understand here? Let's have a look at contrast management now. The administration of contrast media is a vital part of CTA. We need to consider the injection parameters used, the strength of the contrast, and if we are going to use saline flush or chaser. I'd like to stop here and just confirm that if you are hearing me good, this is okay.
It's a little bit, we can hear a little bit low, but there's a little bit of feedback. I don't know. Can you try again, please?
Hi?
That's a little bit better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, talking about injection parameters. First, we will discuss the injection parameters. So, we want to inject the contrast in a way that will ensure an optimal enhancement level. And timing is limited when scanning angels. And we must ensure that we have an adequate iodine delivery rate. We must consider iodine strength, KVP, area of interest in the patient, and have an appropriate protocol based on these variables. We need a minimum through flow rate of 3 mils a second, but it should be ideally closer to 5 millimeters a second. The volume of contrast used is different depending on the body parts you are scanning, and we must ensure we don't use too much contrast as this has potential to cause artifacts. If you take a look at this contrast volume and flow rate, it makes sense that a higher volume of contrast leads to a higher peak and also an extended duration of enhancement, whereas a higher flow rate with the same volume leads to a much higher peak, but for a shorter duration. The volume of contrast need will depend upon the total acquisition time for which the maximum enhancement needs to be maintained. So, in this example, the bolus of contrast will need to be extended by about 7 seconds to account for the ramp up and down for peak enhancement. So to work out the ideal volume, a formula may be useful where the volume is equal to the flow rate times by acquisition time, including the ramp up and down time. We need to consider the type of scanner we are using. So here is an example from carotid column circular wheels scanner in a 40mm system. Here we apply the flow rate is 4.5 mils a second, and the acquisition time is 3.5 seconds. Therefore, using the formula from the previous slide, we have 3.5 plus 7, it's equal to 10.5 times 4.5, that is our flow. Then we're going to reach 47 mils of contrast.
So this would be a 64 size scanner with
yes.
a 40mm detector coverage, correct?
Perfect, yes.
Okay.
40mm system. But you could apply or think the same for 20mm system as well. You just have to change the values because the scan time will be different, right? Well, 45 milliliters, I think probably most people would just load up 50 mil bottle of contrast in this case, okay? What about the contrast strength? So contrast strength is also a very important factor to consider. Let's see here this graph. So you can see from this diagram where each line represents a different contrast strength, that a higher strength leads to a higher iodine delivery rate if all the parameters remain the same. So thin and distal vessels will benefit from a higher strength contrast, and is also if the patient has poor cardiac function or bad venous access where flow is reduced, we could find some benefit for this case as well. So remember that for larger vessels such as aorta, it may be okay to use a lower strength of contrast and maximize this by lowering the kV where possible. Talking about saline chaser. A lot of sites also use saline chaser and they can be very useful. This has become more popular as injector technology has seen the advantage of multi-dosing injector system. Using these injectors means you can draw the contrast and saline from the reservoir and inject it in the same tube. This system can be more economical than loading up a dual syringe injector. But either way, most modern CT injector will have the ability to deliver a saline flow short chase after the contrast volume. bolus. So what the benefits of using saline chaser? The actual volume contrast can be reduced by 20 to 30% as the saline flush will push the bolus through, keeping the contrast within the acquisition time. Thinking back to the formula we used before, you effectively don't need to add the ramp down time of the bolus, as this is replaced by the saline. Also, if the end of the bolus is replaced by saline, this will help you to minimize artifacts that can occur in the contrast. So it's represented in the SPC or the right ventricle for cardio. You can also consider multi-phase injectors protocols if you want to maintain the enhancement plateau, but use a slightly lower total volume of contrast. This type of injection protocols can be useful, for example, in peripheral runoffs, where the acquisition time is quite long.
Rafael, sorry to interrupt you, but at those last sentences, they sounded a bit lower than before.
The last
slide.
The last slide. This one, the dual injection.
Yeah, can you try to speak a little bit higher?
Low.
Okay, I will try to speak louder. Okay. So consider a multi-phase injection protocol if you want to maintain the enhancement plateau. Use a slightly lower total volume contrast. So remember that this type of injection protocols can be useful, for example, in peripheral runoffs. We're talking about runoff studies. Okay, because for these studies we have an acquisition time that is long. So it could be useful for this kind of acquisition. A little more clear now, or?
Yeah, a little bit better, yeah.
So this slide just shows us 40 millimeters detector system and revolution CT, which is a 16 centimeters detector, just for example, okay? So the 40 millimeters would have to acquire a heart in 3 or 4 blocks or slabs of data, and you would need 80 or 100 mils of contrast, whereas the revolution CT can cover the heart in one rotation, and you only need about 50 mils of contrast at the same flow rate. So you have to adapt the contrast, the amount of contrast, according to your system and according to your acquisition time. Here's some suggestion about cardio coronary protocol. So see, for example, that we are using a collimation of 40 millimeters. This is a 64 equipment. Okay, so look for the contrast and flow. So here it's closer to 100, as we said. So you can use sometimes 70 to 90 mils iodine contrast plus 20 mils of saline chaser.
So Rafael, just to so if as we expand our coverage per rotation on our detector configuration, we can actually reduce the amount of contrast when we do acquisitions, right?
Yes, the higher is the coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the low contrast you're gonna have to use.
All right.
Because I'm gonna have a faster acquisition. So if I have a faster acquisition for this case of vascular studies, we don't need to use a lot of contrast. if you want to take a picture of this cardiac protocol recommendation, feel free to do that.
Well, when we did the survey at the beginning of the webinar, I saw a lot of customers having this type of configuration, which most of them are using 64 slide scanners. So this would be very useful for the users right now, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Very useful for the 64 system owners here, or users. It's very important to understand this. So you can minimize contrast usage if you have a very good coverage system. So be attentive with these suggestions that you're gonna do for this day. All right, so we could have the first quiz. What is the purpose of using a saline chaser? Please answer this question.
All right.
Yes. So the correct answer is D, all of above. So we always decrease line artifacts, increase the duration of enhancement, and reduce the volume of contrast to the patient. So then the correct answer is all of above. Nice. Okay. So now we could go to the next topic. We're gonna give some tips and tricks in contrast timing too, like smart prep and Roy. So we will talk about smart prep first. So smart prep is the name given to GE bolus tracking. So if you have a Philips system or Siemens system, you will find the name of this feature as a bolus tracking or sure start for Canon. So it allows real-time monitoring of enhancement levels within the vessel of interest over time. So the enhancement threshold can be seen on a graph, and when the threshold reaches the scan, when the threshold is reached, the scan is started, either manually by the operator or automatically by the system. The smart prep feature looks different on 40mm systems and Revolution CT, but the operator will need to consider certain parameters, such as monitor location delay before monitoring begins the inter-scan delay and the enhancement thresholds. So generally in CT Angel, you are looking at keeping the diagnostic delay as short as possible. So that's delay after the trigger before the scan starts. Also, the MA can be adjusted to fit the patient, but certain other factors are fixed in smart prep, like the matrix and the algorithm. The KVP for smart prep will be determined by the KVP for the acquisition. So you can adjust the MA, but not all other factors specific for smart prep, like matrix or KVP. Remember that. I'd like to show you some examples of where you might place the monitoring scan location for different exams. So you can see that there are two images, the circle of wheels, and this is to reflect two different systems. So if you have like a revolution CT and you are scanning a cycle of wheels in one rotation, I would place the monitoring scan on the basilar artery. Now, if you are a 4 millimeters user, 64 slices systems, it may be easier to set your monitoring at C3 to C4 on a carotid artery.
Rafael, we're having some comments regarding one of the audience on the quality of the audio that is not, there's a lot of feedback. Can you just, you know where the microphone icon is on the bottom of the left screen on the Zoom?
Okay.
There's like a arrow right on the right side of the microphone. And when you open that, there's an audio settings.
Okay.
And when you click on audio settings, and can you see which microphone is activated? Because sometimes it's using the computer microphone or sometimes an external microphone. Can you?
Yeah, it's the Realtek audio. It's the same that we use.
And the microphone?
Yes, the microphone.
Can you change it? Can you change it to? Is there like an option for the computer? Can you choose between microphone?
Better now?
Oh
Or,
yeah, now it's better. Perfect.
yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so don't know what happened here. So I put that same at system now, so now it's better, okay?
Much better.
Now it's perfect.
Thank you. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So sorry for that, people, but I don't know what happened. We were talking good before the class.
Yeah. No problem. It happens.
Sorry for that. So would like to.
It happens in live shows. It happens that, Rafael.
Okay, so look, I'll try to start again on this slide. Maybe could be better, or talking about smart prep. Okay. So again, so let's go to the carotid and cycle of wheels. So here some examples of where you might place the monitoring skin location for different exams. So see that there are two images, the cycle of wheels, and this is to reflect the different CT systems, okay? So if you have a CT with 160 millimeters, I think you should place the monitoring scan on the basilar artery. But if you have a 64 with 40 millimeters in coverage, so I would like to set the monitoring close to the C3 or 4 to monitoring carotid artery. Okay. So, however, the other anatomy, the monitoring location will be the same. So, embolism is below the carina over the pulmonary artery, and full aorta, you can just trigger in the middle of the heart. So you could use the carina for cardiac studies as well. Okay, I just changed the Miroi position for ascending aorta or descending aorta. Okay. So let's talk about dynamic transition. Dynamic transition is a feature that allows to a scanner to automatically start the acquisition when the enhancement threshold is reached. The operator can choose if they want to use this feature to start the scanner manually And even if it's selected in the protocols, it can be turned off at any point before the start of the acquisition. It relies on there being a region of interest in a vessel on the monitoring slice. But even once the monitoring has started, the operator can override the feature and start the scan manually. This is important to avoid time mistakes. For example, you might be scanning a pulmonary embolism, but accidentally place the ROI in the aorta rather than the pulmonary trunk. If you wait for a dynamic transition to kick in, then the time will be too late. So you need to start the scan earlier. So you can use the two ways, manually or automatically, for smart prep. So let's have another quiz. Hopefully you can answer this question even with bad audio quality explanation. Smart Prep is low dose monitor scan. Which parameters can be changed in Smart Prep X-ray? KVP, MA, algorithm, and matrix. So let's see the answers. Yes. The MA KVP, it's not possible. The KVP used will be the same KVP used for a scan, for angio scan. So we cannot change it for the Smart Prep. All right. So let's do the next topic. This is a Miroi let's talking about contrast timing tools using the multi-image region of interest. So the other two that we have is Miroi, and that stands for multi-image region of interest. And what is this? The process of injecting a small test bolus and waiting to wash in and out of monitoring slices. It's like as known as test bolus as well. The enhancement curve within the vessels can then be plotted by measurement of the enhancement units on all of the image over time. So Miroi can be useful when you need to high degree of accuracy to capture the arterial phase at the optimal point in time. This can be very patient dependent, and Miroi will give you accurate timings for specific patient cardiac outputs. Miroi needs multiple images at the same location matrix and the same location field of view and within a single series. So once you've taken those scans, the Miroi feature can be used. So be sure to place the ROI for the Miroi in the center of the vessel where it's not going to move out due to vessel. Also keep it away from the vessel walls and any calcium deposit might be present to guarantee the usage of Miroi. Again, the Miroi tool is found on both users interface. Here I'm talking about G, okay? On the 4mm system, it's located in the image measurement tab. So to figure out the correct time and delay, you need to count the number of tick marks on the graph and times it by the inter-scan delay and then add on any proper delay time. So if the inter-scan delay is 1 second and the rotation time is 1 second, we would get a peak enhancement. Sorry. Yeah, talking about here. We'd get a thick market every 2 seconds on the graph. So this example that we have a 40 seconds enhancement, right? So let's see the enhancement for this. So this enhancement is at 40 seconds. Adding a 5-second prepper delay gives us an arterial enhancement peak at 19 seconds. This time needs to be input into the prepper delay for the acquisition. If the rotation time and inter-scan delay are set to anything other than 1 second, you need to analyze and take in account. So for example, if the inter-scan delay was 2 seconds and the rotation time is 1 second, the tick marker would be shown every 3 seconds on the graph. It's like a test bolus that we use. Okay, some equipment you're gonna find it as a timing bolus name or test bolus. Okay, this is a test bolus or timing bolus technique. All right. So let's have our last quiz. What are the benefits of using Miroy as a contrast timing tool? Notice here you have more than one correct answers. Yeah, actually the correct answers are A, C, and D. So, okay. So the Miroy completely time is specific for each patient. I can alter multiple parameters, including KVP, unlike Smart Prep, and increase accuracy if there are many variables. So, people, that was my last slide. So we've seen the scanning parameters that affect contrast, appreciate the parameters that affect contrast and IQ, different contrast acquisition techniques like Miroy and Smart Prep, and you should be able, after this class, alter the protocols in accordance to achieve the best contrast and IQ with the lowest dose and volume of contrast possible depending on the patient size and requirements of the scan. Again, here are my contacts. So reach out on me by email or LinkedIn. Follow me if you need some help, if you have some questions. And I'd like to give you the education, the G Healthcare Education Portal. Feel free to go there and see what you have as a solution for education for you, for your hospital. Thank you for the opportunity. And now we can open for the Q&A.
Thank you, Rafael. Excellent, as usual. Joseph, you might wanna open the mic if any one of our guests would like to ask a live question to Rafael, please.
Yes, anyone that would like to open or asking a question, just raise your hand. I will transfer, or if you have a written question, we can actually, you can type it in and we can try to respond any of their doubts. Rafael, can you, while we maybe get some questions from the audience, can you explain to us a little bit more for tomorrow? What are the expectancy for tomorrow's last webinar session?
Yes, so tomorrow we're gonna have reconstruction time. So I'm gonna show you some GE softwares that are common used on the market, like Column CT, Cardiac Q Express, Autobone, some software for vascular solution, cardiac solution, and column. We're gonna do some demo and show you how to use and show the feature that we have for those softwares.
Right. Okay, there's a question here. I don't know if you're seeing it. For CT angiography, which is better for enhancement, monomer or dimmer?
Monomer or dimmer? You mean the contrast?
No, I don't think so.
What is monomer or dimmer?
Okay, well, I'll try to contact him. There's another question. Yeah, contrast.
Yeah.
I think he's referring to the contrast.
Yeah, we recommend CTA contrast for angio CT with unless 320 concentration. So don't know if I don't know if I was clear in my answer, but don't know.
I think maybe I can provide him the option to open his mic, and I'm gonna open Julian's mic, and maybe he can expand. There's two monomers. I think he's talking about the type of contrast. I don't know. Maybe the commercial name. I don't know, Julian. I think you can talk. So maybe you can ask the question.
Yes, good night, everyone. I know there's two types of contrast media, right? There's the monomer, which is just singular, and then there's the dimer, which is two monomers, right? I think most of the time I know Ultravis is just a monomer, which is just one cell, right? And I know there's on the other markets with other contrast media, some of them use dimers, right? Which is two monomers merging, which is two monomers basically. I know with the dimers, it's a lot more, it's thicker. The osmolality is thicker, so the flow is a lot. What should I say? The flow is not as smooth or not as blood-like as a monomer contrast media. I don't know if I'm making sense.
I don't know. Maybe he's talking about osmolarity.
Yes, basically. Because
I know there's in GE we actually have Omnipag, which is, and then we have Visipac, which is osmolarity is very similar to the current blood osmolarity, but I don't know if that is a question. What brand of contrast and what concentration are you using currently?
Well, we use Ultravis 370.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's.
know that's sorry.
No, yeah, I would say that the higher you have the higher the contrast concentration, the better will be your image for your vessel. So if you are using a 370, it's a very good concentration, then you're gonna have a very good result for angel.
Yes, that's what we utilize currently. But just was just trying to figure out what's the difference in the enhancement with it, because we have never used any other brand besides the Ultravis.
Maybe the question is, what CT and what CT model are you using currently?
Well, we have a Siemens 16 slice motor.
16.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm not a specialist, but I'm asking then Rafael. They have a 16 slice scanner. They're using Ultravis 370.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, in my ignorance, because I'm not clinical, but I guess the less concentration and the less contrast use, it will be the better. Eventually, with a 16 slice scanner, is there any possibility of using either Visipac, which is an isomolar concentration, or less concentration contrast with a 16 slice scanner?
Yeah, I don't see any problem to use this kind of concentration for these scanners. So actually, I really didn't understand good your
Question.
Yeah, and why you need to know about this.
I think
for educational sake, because just in case a question do pop up where you might have to change contrast media to something else, I just want to have a kind of understanding what's the difference between both of them and how they affect enhancement when it comes to a 16 slice versus a 64 or a 128 slice.
There's another question from the audience or comment. It says dimmers or dimers are non-ionic contrast, which give better opacification than monomer non-ionic. So I guess it's more about
No, it's not a question, but it's true. So dimers non-ionic contrast give better opacification than monomer. So if the question is what should we use for angel, I would not use the monomer. I don't know if it's your question. I would use the dimer.
Right. So that's
because with this contrast, you're gonna have a better image quality, and as much concentrate we have contrast, we have a better image quality with a non-ionic dimer. So I don't know if this is your question.
Sorry, guys, but I don't want my question to be taking up too much time, because I remember other people might want to chime in as well, right? So
no, not a problem.
No.
We have Susan here. I don't know, Susan. I have opened your mic. She has a question saying that it has been all clear and precise. However, I would love to access to the slide on NI if possible.
NI.
Susan, if you can open or if you can unmute yourself, maybe you can address Rafael, maybe with a more specific question.
No problem. That was about the noise index. I think that was the third slide.
Okay,
noise.
I think that, yeah, there was a noise index.
So I'll share my screen here.
Susan, where are you located now?
I work in Barbados.
Oh, great. Nice.
Good night, Susan.
Yes. Good night,
Let-
Julian.
Let me
100% Bajan.
100%. 100% Caribbean.
Yeah, right.
So let's see. Let's share my screen. You need the slide of
Noise
I don't know,
index.
noise
You want me
index.
to-
Any specific question for this, or just
I
want
just
to
wanted to see the slide again.
Mm-hmm. Already? No? Let's regarding.
We're not seeing it. I don't know if you can share your screen, Rafael.
Okay, just a minute. So let's see. Sorry. This one? No.
No,
Maybe this one.
no, not that one. Not that one.
Because here we have noise index information. Mm,
Nah, you're gonna pass it then.
It's before that.
So here we start. Then we have the acquisition parameters.
Oh, wait. I think it was this one. The
Oh.
noise index here is
No, it don't have noise index information.
no, it doesn't
here.
have it here. You had a slide with it, no?
I think it's
Yeah,
This one.
this one.
Yeah. Yeah, 23.21.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. You're correct.
Yes, 23.21.
Okay.
Any question about it? Or
No, not really.
just for reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, notice that the reference noise index for this case is 22.10 due to anatomical region and probably due to slide thickness. So here was used a dose step. So we chose -1 dose step. So we increased the noise index to reduce those in this case.
So the figure on the right is actually maximum.
The noise
Uh,
index is 23.21. You mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the noise index, the original, the reference noise index for this region, let's say this is a lung parenchyma or abdomen study.
Abdomen.
Yeah, it's 22.10, right? So if you need to reduce the dose, you have to increase the noise, or you must increase the noise. So you go to those steps and we can reduce the dose for modulation dose, then we're gonna increase the noise. And if you need, more, if you need a better image quality, so you can increase the noise index, increasing the dose steps.
So if like on this MA control, you're telling the scanner to modulate between 100 MA to 380 MA.
Yes.
However, you don't want your noise go too high.
Yeah.
So you set your noise index at 23.21. So it stays within that.
Here in this case, for example, for this study, we we set an MA range from minimum 100 to maximum 308. Okay, and what I'm telling for the system here is, I need a noise index, even if you are giving me the ideal noise index for this study, that is 22.10, I want that you modulate the dose to reach 23.21 noise index. So when the system modulates the dose, it will work close to the minimum to reduce the dose and increase the noise index. So the system will evaluate the patient, the scouts, and evaluate what you said to the system regarding the noise index. Then the system will modulate between 100 and 308 to reach this 23.21 noise index. So every time you increase the noise, the system tries to modulate for a minimum MA. Set it as a range.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I think there was another question by Yusuf Nuruddin. I don't know, Yusuf, you want me to have a comment and then mute your mic? Okay. Hello?
Hello, Yusuf.
Yusuf?
Yeah,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just adding the thoughts to the question that was asked about dimers and monomers.
Yes.
Monomers have one iodine ring, and dimers have two iodine ring. So although they may have similar osmolality, but the dimer seems to give more opacification because of the two iodine ring than monomers. That was what I was just trying to say.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe that those are all the questions for today. Alex, maybe you want to wrap it up?
Yes, sorry, I was in mute. Again, thanks all for your assistance. Please remember that tomorrow will be our last webinar exposition. Please enjoy the show tomorrow, same hour, 6 to 7 p.m., same channel. And Rafael will be again discussing another interesting topics, having Q&A. We will open the mic for the questions, so bring your questions, your curiosities. And thanks all, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.